turn All right, spoiler edgy tape. We're live. We're live. Andrew. Steggy's running around getting beer for JJ. But we are live, so we are here, Colombo's Cafe. Down there, home of the Seabows. We got a couple people out there eating already. Tonight on the show, we got some WTF news. JJ, you got a little late. You got a little but in the meantime, I guess we got to tell everybody who we are. I'm Tommy. I'm JJ. Producer John's in the house. We've got Jack making adjustments. Let's get it settled here. Jack, let us know when we want to proceed.
I'm just joking about Danny getting fired. He's actually in a pickleball tournament for his life.
Really?
No, he's not fired.
He's definitely in pickle.
I think he's in pickle, maybe.
I think that attorney you guys were blasting on the other day might have went down to Naples and took him out. You guys seem a little harsh on dude.
He's gonna watch over his shoulder.
I hear you.
You know, we got coming up. So just so everybody knows, we're doing the live thing on Thursday, obviously. And then on Mondays, we're going to put out a different crime story of some sort. And this Monday, I got Mark Biondelino on.
Be on the lookout.
So when I was down at the trial, I ran into Tiffany Becker, who's in one of our favorite U.S. attorneys. There's so many down there, but she's tied for first, right?
Right.
And we were talking, and she said, Mark Biondelino worked a very, very interesting murder for hire case. You ought to call him. So I did, and we talked about it, and it was in the news a little bit, but Mark really lays out the investigation where a school principal was having relations with but one of the gals he was having a relationship for like 5 years. She got pregnant, and then there was a murder for hire involved. Wow. How they solved that. And they did an awesome job. And our boy Brian McClin was in it. And
what school?
Good story. Colleen?
No,
I don't.
We'll get it.
Yeah, listen to the thing for you, and I'm going to break it down for you.
Can I say one thing?
Yeah, you can.
Last week, two of the officers that work for me came in, and they made us do Jameson shots. They didn't make us, but we're not big shot people. So for some reason, Tommy decided that's a new ritual. What's up with that?
I was feeling kind of good last week. I ain't going to lie.
Well, thank God I got my designated driver show up.
You got Steggy here.
Steggy? Yeah, Jeff Steggy, my neighbor. And,
I had to take an Uber home last week.
Well, so did I. So now I got Uber here, and I got Steege, which is he's going to take me home.
Nope. And then tomorrow, Friday night, we're going to the Mason Griffith, our Chief Mason Griffith Foundation comedy show out in Washington, Missouri, and we're all going to pile into a van, and I'm sure we'll get some content out of that van. We're going to have the Steeg and
we're going to videotape anything.
We might as well.
Do you know how?
I'll figure it out. John, do you know how?
Yeah.
I'm just looking forward to the comedy show.
He's not busy over there.
Yeah, there's a couple more things going on now than usual.
How are we doing over there? What are we looking at? What are you looking at right there?
2 followers.
Yeah.
We got 6 people watching right now.
Yeah, that's all right.
That's what we did better last week. Last week we had like 17 and
7. I'm just going to continually count up and down how many people are on.
But JJ, you had a little rant that you wanted to go on. You were talking the other day, and you're a little miffed about this, and it is a touchy subject for a lot that have been through this. But tell that story.
No, I have a thing about stalkers, and policeman John, and Tommy, and all the policemen out here know. And when you're a policeman, you get phone calls all the time. Am I right? People call you and they want you to solve their problems. They know you and they say, "Hey, this is going on." Over the years, I've had multiple phone calls from either a mom or a dad saying that their daughter's being stalked by this guy. And to me, it's always been a pet peeve. It just creeps me out that there's guys that just don't take no for an answer, and they think that by stalking them and showing up at their houses unannounced and being aggressive, that's like actually going to win these girls back. So that's my pet peeve. And
they are creepy people.
They are. I mean, and you guys all.
You got a stalker story.
Oh, I have a few stalker stories, but the one that started was when my daughter Lauren was just started junior college, and her girlfriend Lindsay is a beautiful girl too, and and they went to Merrimack, and they had their high school friends. And now they're going to the world, and they're meeting different people. And so she went to Merrimack, and they met a bunch of guys and girls. They had a new group of friends. And so Lauren decides she wants to have a birthday party at my basement. We did my basement's a bar, and we did our Halloween.
The police come, you lock them out.
Right. No, but remember, we did our show from my basement
I hear you.
on Halloween. So she wants to have a party down there. And she's just right out. She might have been a sophomore in junior college, whatever. But she decides she wants to have a birthday party. I said, that's fine. Come on. So she has I don't know. I said, keep it small, like 15, 20 people. So she does. So I'm in the bar. I work the bar. It's my bar. So Lauren's always cool. She's like, hey, I want you to be down there. So I'm down there, and all this group of kids come in. I know most of them are her friends. And then all of a sudden, a group of guys come down, and I'm kind of, being as a policeman, I kind of look around, I'm watching. I'm like, I see one guy, and I just don't like him. My gut feeling is there's something wrong with this guy.
Got that look?
It's just my gut feeling. Just the way he's acting and stuff. And so she comes over, and she goes, what do you think? I said, who? I point out to them. I said, who's that? And she says, oh, I'm not going to say his name. Says his name. She goes, oh, he's really nice. I go, I don't like him. I go, there's something wrong about him. You got to be careful with him. She goes, oh, you don't like anybody. You know what I mean? And that's
Typical
not true.
Dad.
Yeah, that's not true. I like most people. I hate a lot of people, but most people I like. First impressions are big. And so I said, I don't something about that guy. Just don't trust him. Oh, Dad, you don't like anybody. So I'm like, whatever. So a few minutes later, I'm not paying attention. All of a sudden, she shows back up with him and introduces him to me. And she introduces to me, and I shake his hand. I talk to him for a few minutes, and he walks away. I told you he's a really nice guy. I said, Lauren, all he did just now was confirm my first instinct. I don't watch this guy. He's something wrong with him. He ain't right.
I have a feeling this guy's going to turn out to be a bad guy.
He turns out to be a really bad guy, more than you can even say.
Wow.
So a couple weeks later,
seeing that we're talking about stalkers, I have a feeling that he's going to be a stalker.
He is a stalker. He's such a stalker. They end up going to the penitentiary.
For stalking?
Mm-hmm. Oh, this dude's off the chain.
He started in your basement?
He started with and thank God it wasn't my daughter. It was actually her friend Lindsay. And who's a beautiful girl. She's married, happy, and everything's great. But anyway, so a couple weeks go by, and this Lauren says, hey, you're right on the money. This guy is really creeping us out. He won't leave Lindsay alone. He either blocked her from getting
a couple weeks after?
Yeah.
All right.
He won't let her back in her own car, or either that, or he gets in her car and he won't get out, and he just keeps crossing the line with her. And they never even dated. They never even said she was going to go out with him. He just had a thing for her, and it was just crazy. So I say she needs to get a restraining order. This guy is crossing the line. This guy's creepy. So she gets a restraining order on him, and so time goes by, and he violates the restraining order. Lauren says, yeah, he showed up and blah, blah. That's when he wouldn't let her in her car or something. So she gets a restraining order. He's served. And then that's when he violates the restraining order. So I call him. I get his phone number. I call him as a dad.
As a dad or a policeman?
As a dad.
A little both?
A little both. But I call him. I said, hey, man, you just violated your restraining order. You're not supposed to go near my daughter or Lindsay. And he's like, man, we're cool now. And he just doesn't get it. He's like, we're cool now, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, no, you can't go. You have a restraining order. They're freaked out by you. Stay away from them. And you can't violate it. And so he's in the car with his mom.
Oh.
So his mom says, she gets on the phone and says, listen, I'm an attorney. My husband's attorney. And blah, and she starts going off. I go, listen, man, I don't give a shit that you're an attorney, your husband's attorney. Your son
is a creep.
I said, there's something wrong with him, and you violate his restraining order, and he's going to jail. And she's like, no, and she starts arguing. I go, listen, I don't need to argue with you, ma'am. He's going to jail, and they're going to pick him up for violating. So I hang up. So weeks go by, a couple weeks, I don't know how long, a couple week or two. I get a phone call from Lauren and says, hey, I'm at the police station on Rivas and Telegraph.
Well, you never told me this shit.
Oh, no, so this guy's following him. He's ready to violate it. So he's following in their car, her and Lindsay. And so one of them, I don't know if it's Lindsay or Lauren, decides to call 911, which is a smart move. They say, just come to the police station. So they give a description of the car. They go to the police station and they pick him up. And they grab him. And so I get a phone call. I'm working. It's me and Brad Owens. Brad, I wish you were on live. You could comment in, but I know he's not. But so I said,
I'm going to take a guess and say you get worked up.
I'm livid, dude.
Okay. just making that clear.
I'm livid. So I said, Brad, we're working. We're both in uniform. We're working downtown or North City probably. And I said, we're going on a road trip. And I tell my sergeant, I said, hey, we're going. And my daughter got the stalker. He said, go on, you're good. I can't remember what sergeant, probably Speece. So I think it's Dodge actually. So we take off, and we go down to the police station. And if we pull up, the kid's standing outside with a lieutenant and some police officers, and he's smoking a cigarette. And he don't see me. And I know my daughter's inside with Lindsay. So I go, there's a dude right there. So Brad and I walk up to him, and I kindly put my hand on his shoulder. I said, listen, when he sees me, his eyes like, holy shit, what's up? And I said, listen, dude, I don't ever want to hear your name come out of Lindsay's mouth or my daughter's mouth ever again. And he's like, they're cool with me. I don't know what I go.
Yeah,
And this guy is so creepy. I said, they're not cool. They're scared to death of you. There's something wrong with you, dude. I said, you need to go. I said, you need to leave them alone and go creep somebody else out. And
he took your advice though.
No, he did, but he looked at me like, and he was so offended. He was creep other people out. I go, you're creeping people out, dude. There's something wrong with you. And Brad Owens knew I was getting mad. Brad says, go see your daughter and Lindsay. I got this. To this day, I don't know what Brad said to him, but I knew Brad. Brad's a big guy, and I'd love to hear what he had to say to him. But the kid did say, are you threatening me? I said,
no.
Yeah. I said, I guess I go, listen. I said this, and this is what I said to him. I said, listen, next time you see me, I'm not going to be in this uniform. I'm going to be in plain clothes. I'm coming at you as a dad.
And I'm going to be really mad.
And he says, are you threatening me? I go, yeah, absolutely. I am threatening you. So
where is he at today?
Well, it's just interesting. So I go and see my daughter, and that ends, and we don't hear about him again. That ended it. So a year
solved for you.
For me, the problem solved. We never hear again from him. About a year later, Detective Mark Kurkowski, who dealt with that sort of stuff, calls me and says, hey, do you know this kid? He says his name. I said, I go, who'd he creep out now? He says, actually, I'm calling you because your daughter showed up on this police report that he's done this before. I go, this kid's dangerous. Well, he actually crossed the line. And I talked to Mark Kurkowski today. This dude crossed the line so bad, and I'm not going to get into the whole police story of it, but he ended up going to the penitentiary. He crossed the line. He actually went at this gal. Just a small one part that wasn't even the worst part. He sees her, runs into a bar in, I think it's Central West End or somewhere, or on Soulard, and grabs her, goes in the bathroom after her and grabs her by the throat and pushes her up against the wall. And people come in and have to pull him off. And he's freaked. He still thinks that she loves him. It's just unreal, dude. This guy.
They're cool.
They're cool. He's like telling the police in the police report is like, yeah, hey, we're cool. She really does love me. I'm like, are you shitting me? So he ended up going to penitentiary. And this is 2000, probably 11 or 12. So that's a long ass time ago. So I don't know what he's doing now. He's probably creeping other people out, or
you got to think,
or he's upped his game. I know that after he dealt with my daughter and Lindsay, but he never gets a clue. And my whole thing is, and actually Mark Kurkowski, that's what he does for a living. He's retired from the police department, and he's involved in the Stalking Prevention Awareness and Resource Center now, which I didn't know that until I called him, because I remembered he was the one that took the case. And
so he's deep in the stalking.
He's in it.
He's get him on the show.
He's actually he's on a Netflix series that talks about stalking. Really? So I didn't even know this when I found this 10 minutes before I got here. So I reached out to him and he answered. So I told him he needs to come on the show so he's been all over the world training with these stalkers. It ain't exclusive to the U.S. It's
stalkers. I mean, they're
to me,
they can ruin lives.
It's unreal. And I've had multiple times, never this severe, but I've had people call me today. My daughter's getting stalked by this dude. But my thing, and what I want to say is,
all that to say this.
This is women get a clue, because when you first start dating a guy, if he shows up unexpected, or he gets jealous right away, or he thinks, all of a sudden you're at a bar, your girlfriend's, and he shows up unannounced. There's all kinds of little clues you get. You listen to your gut, and if your gut never lies to you, your instincts don't lie to you. But there are some you have to. Then they all fall far. And they think, and then they. The thing for me is, I don't understand stalkers. They're actually psychopaths. But how the hell do they think that being a stalker and being that aggressive is going to make them fall in love with it. I just don't get it. But anyway, that's my little tidbit.
They're
They're
demented.
demented. There it is. That's creepy. Now, any of you guys out here have stalkers? If you want to tell a story,
No.
do girls stalk guys? I guess they do, but not aggressively.
You never know.
There is one couple in this audience, so just joking. She's like,
No, I forgot to mention that we're going to have Colonel Mike Quinn on later in the show.
okay.
There's a big.
We're having Mark Bukowski on too.
Yes,
So,
we are.
all right.
I
Tonight?
forgot to mention like what's coming on
Not
later
tonight.
in the show. That's down the road. We got some other stuff coming down the road, but yeah.
You know what's great about live?
What?
You can't cut any of the shit I just did out.
No, can't. It's out there forever now. Forever.
That was my piece. I'm a.
Colonel Quinn's coming in
Thanks,
now or later, and he's going to talk about several different things. But
Does he know he's coming on later?
yeah, he didn't know. He showed up, and I said, "You're coming on?" He's like, "Really?" I said, "Yeah, come on." But anyway, the other one was in the WTF news. Dude, how about this guy on the Metrolink, dude?
This guy is. You gonna explain?
He's been locked up twice. He got locked up back 8 months ago for humping a Metrolink seat.
Having sex with a Metrolink seat.
And then he just got locked up on the 13th of this month again for having sex on the Metrolink.
Is there any chance
seat.
we can show his picture up?
This dude is
He looks like he's a seat humper.
Yeah.
This dude is a friggin' menace.
He is a menace.
An absolute Metrolink menace, just humping the shit out.
You know, I have a theory. I have a solution.
No, he's the original metrosexual.
How long are you waiting on that one? They just come to you. John comes up with another
Just popped
zinger.
in.
I have a solution for him.
How would you solve it, JJ?
I would just give him a bunch of old Metro seats and just give them to him. Say, take these home, brother.
Yeah.
Come home, put him in your living room.
He'll never leave the house.
Go to town.
Yeah. If you get 2 or 3,
Are the Metro sinks? Are the seats are they cloth or leather? Do you think that would matter?
I guess they're
That's
leather.
got to matter, doesn't it, John?
I don't know.
Cloth or leather?
I think
Who has leather seats on public transportation?
I don't-
First thing.
I
I
don't
don't
know.
know. Is it that hard plastic though?
Yeah, I guess.
I think so.
I don't know.
I think so. But if you give him 2 or more seats, will he have a menage a trois?
He's a stalker too.
But if you
He's
look
a
at
seat stalker.
The seat stalker.
Seat stalker.
Does he have certain seats he likes?
see-
And
I'd even let him come down to the warehouse where they have old seats and say, pick out what you want, buddy.
yeah, take it home with you.
They got the best looking
And
seat.
stay off her. Stay off
There's
her.
a good looking seat right here, pal.
Is this one taken here?
It's a seat taken.
Is this seat taken? I'm kind of
Tommy, I
interested.
think Jameson might be our answer, dude.
Oh shit. Seat stalker.
Seat stalker.
Oh, I got another story.
I wish we could show the picture of that dude because that dude,
We'll figure it out.
Oh,
Jake
man.
can put it up. We're gonna. Or I'm sorry.
he doesn't look smart.
Who? Jake or the other guy?
The stalker.
Oh, Jake's
No,
pretty smart.
The
I think.
seat,
Smart.
the seat stalker don't look smart.
Seat
at all.
smart. Yeah, he's got a
He's
got a little redhead.
Yeah, he's got a
to
dead
him.
look in his eye too.
He's
man.
got that yeah. But I got this other story. Hold on, I got to read this fucking thing. So this happened a little bit ago.
Hey, Jack's gonna throw that picture up on him.
Oh, cool.
Okay, just say something, JJ. I don't know where the story went.
Let me do my Zen.
Nope. Hold on. Yeah, do your Zen. Let's not calm down a little bit. Do your Zen.
Yeah,
We'll calm down. 'Cause
This
this story is you're gonna have some questions about this story I'm about to read.
All right,
You're
so
gonna have some questions.
There he is. That's seeing live right now. I will wait.
What are we
until-
doing?
They're showing that picture.
Jack's putting a picture of the seat guy
Oh,
up.
okay. That could be a little smoother. in
Did
the
we
future,
lose?
but
Did we lose viewers from my stalking story?
Yes, they
Yeah, one,
they
one
bailed.
the stalker.
Right, they bailed. I know
This
where
will be
it's at.
showed on Monday, right?
On Wednesday. So our edited version of our live show shows on Wednesday.
There he is. That's awesome.
That guy's looks good.
The seat geek.
Ain't no seat that dude don't like right there.
Oh man, that is weird.
What it
All right, I'm gonna do my Zen
crazy.
then.
Do your Zen and then I got a good story.
I don't have any Zen music.
What the heck?
No, that's all right.
All right,
Just rattle it off, JJ. I'm talking to the mic.
laziness is ambition. Anger is wisdom. Oh, no, I'm sorry. Let's start over. Here's the Jameson.
Can we cut that out?
Yeah, this guy. Laziness kills ambition. Anger kills wisdom. Fear kills dreams. Ego kills growth. jealousy kills peace. Doubt kills confidence. Now, if I read this right to left, it says ambition kills laziness, wisdom kills anger, dreams kill fear, growth kills ego, peace kills jealousy, and confidence kills doubt.
Yeah.
Pretty cool, huh?
Thinking backwards, it works sometimes.
It does.
Right.
Thinking backwards. I got that it literally popped up on my
your head?
phone. No, yeah, I made that up on my drive here. No, I was looking at my phone this afternoon and that popped up. That's crazy. I'm on an algorithm, I think, with Zens now.
Are you ready for this story?
Yes.
Johnny, you ready for this story?
Yeah, what is it?
All right. Officers of the Kenyan Customs Service Department have arrested a Chinese tourist attempting to board a flight from Shanghai after finding a total of 510 genital organs from wildlife animals in his suitcase.
Penises?
That's what I'm getting at. So 37-year-old Ming Zhang Wei, was arrested at the Jomo Kenyatta Airport in Nairobi while carrying two suitcases full of animal penises. The genital organs came from a variety of animals, 309 from zebras, 46 from baboons, 31 from buffaloes, 27 from giraffes, 14 from lions, and even 21 from pink flamingos.
What's
A few of the penises were so badly preserved that the nature was impossible to identify. So they got unidentified penises too.
so where's the crime come in? It's poaching, though. It's poaching, right? Well, you can't poach certain animals in Africa.
So many questions just occur with that. That's how you do it.
How do you
How's
get close enough to lion to chop his penis?
Oh,
off?
you
And
shoot them.
are they killing them and then taking their
Yes,
penises?
they're poaching. That's against the law.
I think
Because
it would be
having-
more of a
I'm-
challenge if you had to take the penises alive.
But how do you? Yeah. But how do you charge a guy with a bunch of penises if you don't know he's poached them? I mean, I know they're poached illegally. but
Possession of
He can
penises.
just say, "Hey, man, I found him in the alley. Found him. And they were this. I don't know. You need to get the real poachers, but I just like
I found
penises. I like penises from animals.
a shitload of penises and I'm taking them home.
I don't know. How do you charge it?
What do you do with them though?
That's a good. No, they're good.
What do you do with them?
A lot of questions here, Tom.
You know, I think he's from China. So does China have like a schlong safari? Like, over to the right is
Maybe it's a museum. Maybe
310.
they stuff them and and they put them in a museum. This is
John, you gotta-
We're going to call Vin Yee and get some
I think
clarification
so.
on this.
Vin Yee, I bet you he's down with the animal penis stealing.
doesn't.
Vin Yee, if you're listening, can you call and clarify this whole mess for
Hey,
us?
that's weird.
Like,
I don't
if you took them alive, you'd have to be pretty tall to be yanking off giraffe penises,
You ain't taking any of
like
them
the
alive.
new bull or somebody.
They're doing is they're poaching the bastards and then they're cutting their nuts off, which is crazy. That is what's the point?
What do you got? Where do you go?
is it-
This guy, when he gets to China, what's
Maybe
he doing?
maybe it's a delicacy in certain countries.
Come on. Come on. Come on.
There's creepy
Let's-
people. If you can think of it, someone's done it. That's creepy people.
Just to be safe, I'm just going to eat American food for a while.
All right, I think we need to move on. This is such a
Now,
creepy-
do you got the picture of the Alabama Police Department that got fired, Jack? The police department where the Alabama Police Department that got fired? Yeah. Hold on.
I don't think Jack's ever worked so hard.
Right. This is John. John's like, this is too much.
We might have to bring Huggy
But
down
this
here and
whole
help
police
him out.
department got fired.
I know.
And,
I know the story.
The picture of these people.
It was a criminal enterprise they created, right?
I think somebody had overdosed and then they traced it back to all these coppers dealing dope and
That's a criminal enterprise.
thank you.
That's great.
But anyway,
In this
we
day
might
and
not
age,
have it. We might not have. Oh, here we go. The awkward pause.
that's all right. How you been?
Colonel Quinn's out there going, I got to fucking join this there.
How was your Jameson shot?
I feel good. They're kind of warm. They're warm.
It gives you a
They make
warm,
a little
fuzzy
warm
feeling,
yeah.
right?
That's what I feel. You know, Danny is. I think Danny is picked up his son Brian tonight in Naples.
Yeah.
And I think they might be driving home now listening to us.
No way. It'd show up. Tell him, call him, tell him to get
Danny
on.
does it. Danny, there's the picture right there. How about the guy in the top middle? The guy in the top middle, we do not condone running from the police ever. But if that guy pulled you over, I'm telling you right now,
I'd call the police
and run.
Yeah.
And then
I don't think you hurt that guy with a baseball bat.
No, he's a freak.
and then get like when you go to court, you get charged with running from the police, felony fleeing or whatever.
You get out of it.
And then you just like, Your Honor, look at the dude. I'm running. I got to run.
Yeah, that's a good point. That's a good defense.
Oh yeah,
I
but he
think-
doesn't look like he could run very fast either.
No, that's why
Producer
you.
John, you got a story for us?
Yeah, Judge Milliken just got on and commended Jack for his prowess.
Oh, that's nepotism at its best.
Nepotism. Yeah, that's all right.
It's just pride.
Good job. Good job from Dad.
He's too good to come down here. Did he? He came. He came. Oh, did he really? I can help him with that too. I throw my back out once in a while.
Can somebody grab me a beer?
He actually came down the one time I wasn't here.
Hold on. John's going to give me a beer before he tells his story.
Why drink out of the cup?
I need a beer.
No,
All right.
I got nothing. Jack, when we do this, it comes out on Wednesday. There's certain you can still cut certain things out.
Like those long pauses, those awkward pauses.
And some
I like the way I pour it into a cup and then.
Jack, was this your idea to go live? Semi.
This is going to work out, baby.
All right.
We're going to have fun.
No safety net scares me.
This will be Danny's. Danny will be good at this kind of shit.
Well, yeah, because I'm not. Because I have a history of putting foot in mouth.
Yes, you
My
do.
whole
Most
life.
of our cuts have come from you.
Right. Most of my life, I'd said things that, and all of a sudden, like the person I'm talking about is right behind me.
If we ever did a best of, the hardest I ever laughed is when you quit the show on show 2. You got because you weren't paying attention.
Yeah.
And you thought that Jerry Layshock paid for Steve Strel's
I didn't
all
think
his
that.
college and shit.
Yeah, you got to go back to that. I was totally.
That was by far the hardest I laughed.
that was
And you
a
were
funniest
mad, too.
moment.
I was mad.
I quit.
You got it. Oh man, I was totally innocent. I was on my phone texting, and I heard something. You know who? I forgot how it went, but something. I forgot how he said it. But I said, "Well, Layshock."
Right. No. No,
Oh,
Danny
man.
said, you know who paid for it? Because we were pimping the backstoppers.
Right.
You know who paid for his college and all the schooling they've gone through and
See, I
housing?
didn't hear any of that.
And you just said Layshock.
No, I didn't hear. I heard.
He said it so confidently. He goes, Layshock.
No, who's one of his? I thought it's like one of the supporters of him or something. I didn't hear all that bullshit. All I know
You were
is
texting.
I was texting.
You were over the corner texting somebody. That was when we were audio
Can
only.
you imagine that was videoed?
That would have been good. That would have been even better. So,
And-
Johnny, what do you got, baby?
I'm proud to be a St. Louisan for many reasons.
Yes.
But my new theme is for this next few weeks is persons, places, and things. We did Yogi. We did the Mississippi River Festival. Now I'm going to do a place. What's widely recognized as the nation's first sports bar opened in St. Louis.
Wow.
Really?
Yeah, it was up at 3701 Sullivan in Spring.
Huh.
It was called Palermo's, and it was right outside the left field bleachers at Sportsman's Park.
Okay.
So it was like a perfect tsunami of what would create a sports bar, because right outside the stadium, both the Cardinals and the Browns were playing at the
Right.
time. So you have baseball like every day, and the son of the owner, it started out as more of a confectionery and a small restaurant, and they sold a lot. And a lot of the players would go in there like before the game to get stuff and whatnot, and the fans. But the owner's son, Jimmy, who had ended up turning into a sports bar, he was a bat boy for the Browns. He started when he was 6, and he worked there for 15 years. And he collected all the sports memorabilia, because the players, like if they cracked a bat or something, he would take it home with them, and the players would give him all kinds of stuff. Well, so it was so busy down there. And then, Jimmy, when he was growing up, worked for the team, but he ended up having to go to World War II.
Mhm.
and he ended up in the Battle of the Bulge, and he was a war hero. But when he came back, he decided to open the bar.
So it was like the original Murphy's Bleachers.
Yeah. I love that bar.
So they ended up, so it was the first bar, that is recognized to have put the memorabilia on the wall, all kinds of baseball stuff. They sold local beer. It was a Greasy Dick.
Was it
place.
Falstaff?
Until the Cardinals bought, when the brewery bought the Cardinals, Gussie Bush went right across the street and got them to get rid of the Greasy Dick and get.
I'd get rid of Greasy Dicks too.
We've had. It kind of goes into Tommy's story earlier.
Because I was thinking the same thing.
You fourth graders. You guys are fourth graders.
That just goes right into the safari
That's
story.
a terrible name. Yeah.
Well,
Go ahead.
it's
Maybe
a
that's
famous name in
where
St. Louis.
those penises were going.
Guys. So anyway, Gussie went over there, made it a Budweiser bar.
That's cool.
But then what really revolutionized it is when the TVs first came out, Jimmy went and bought like 4 TVs and mounted them in the bar. No other bars did that. So even on nights when there wasn't games, people would go there to watch boxing matches and other things. So a couple other kind of
What was the name of the bar?
Palermo's.
Palermo's. I know you said it once.
I would say I was there for a long time.
And the cool thing is it was operated as a bar between 1933 and 1966. Well, those dates coincide with 1933 is when Prohibition ended, because before that it was just, it was still a restaurant,
right.
and that, and then 66 was the year that the Cardinals moved over to Busch Stadium 2 downtown.
Oh.
But what kind of coincides with my Yogi Berra story is that Jimmy and Yogi were married to sisters.
Huh.
Jimmy married Nadine Short, and Yogi was married to Carmen Short.
Can I tell a joke, Reg? Old story?
Yeah.
No, seriously. My mom was, she grew up in South City, and she was a little girl, like 13 or 14, and she babysitted the second baseman. I can't think of his name. She always talked about him. But
Roger Hornsby?
No. He was a really kind of a no-name guy.
Throwing one out. Mike Tyson?
No.
Julian Javier.
That was him.
Yeah.
But anyway, they lived, a lot of the players lived in the neighborhood. So she lived at Bates and
I wanted to keep guessing.
Go ahead. But anyway, she babysitted for this second baseman's kids. And he would actually take her and her girlfriend, Mary Saboka, her married name, I don't know what her maiden name was. But he took my mom and her to the games, and they would go watch the games, and then they'd get in the car, and he'd pick them up and bring them home. So one day they were in the car, and Joe Garagiola walks up to the second baseman, and everybody loved Joe Garagiola, and so she tells the story how Joe Garagiola came up to the car and would talk to him. But the funny story is, one day, I guess he must have had a bad game, the second baseman, and he forgot my mom and her friend, and he went home. So he gets home, and his wife says, "Where's her mom?" My mom's name was, "Where's Shirley and Mary?" He's like, "Oh shit, damn!" So he had to go back.
And it was raining.
No, it wasn't raining. So they had to go back, and they were sitting on the corner, and picked him up and brought him back home.
That's a good one.
Yeah, that's cool.
Story.
Good one.
It all links
Yeah,
together.
I looked his name up, and a couple weeks ago, my brother said something about it, and I can't remember the second.
Colonel Quinn, you done eating?
Oh,
No, you take your time, because I got a P Diddy story. Just as you're walking up, P Diddy. Did you hear about P Diddy? His lawyer
I
quit.
heard he's in jail.
Well, his lawyer quit. His
That's
lawyer
it.
said, "I can't take no more of this case."
That make the news?
Yeah, and that lawyer was a defense lawyer for the Osama bin Laden, and he can't take this. How about that one?
So
How about that one?
let's get this straight. So he quits P Diddy, but he defends one of the most biggest enemies in the history of our country. He killed hundreds. How many people in 9/11?
He quit on. He says
he
that P
quits on
Diddy's
P.
too
Diddy?
much. P
That's
Diddy's too much.
I mean,
And I got a stalking story too that
well,
kind
yeah.
of builds off your story,
Okay.
but it's a little late.
Well, I think
You know.
any stalking story is a good stalking story.
But
Because I think we need to get that word out. Women need to wake up and stop using their gut instinct not to be stalked anymore.
So my sister was stalked by my sister was 9 years older than me. So she was stalked as a youngster, in that teens and early 20s. And so my dad was taking care of it at the time. You know, he was a pretty tough dude at the time. And
Right.
he's, and it stopped.
The stalker didn't know that though.
Well, but it stopped, right?
Okay.
So he wasn't stalking no more. My dad kind of did what he did, and the guy stopped stalking. Well, the stalker then sees my dad when he was older, when I just got on the police department. I was
Really?
21 years old. So my dad's now in his 60s, and he gets on, and he's going to Floney's. My dad was a huge patron of Floney's.
He was a round table guy, right?
He was a round table
He had
guy.
privilege there.
And he was a good friend of Alex Senior, and they lived right on the street. But anyway, he's going there, and this guy that would stalk my
Your
sister at the time sees him, and he recognizes him. And now that he sees that he's old, he wants to mess with him.
Right.
So he gets up on the side of him, and he flourishes a hammer at him, and
Of your dad?
yeah. And this is actually on the way home.
So wait a minute, this creeper needed a hammer to take on your 60-year-old dad?
60, probably 60 something at the time.
Oh,
yeah.
still. Well,
Yeah.
He's still a coward, but go ahead.
Right. So, and then he follows him to the house, and my dad gets in the house, and he calls me.
Wait a minute. He went into your dad's house?
No, he followed him to the house.
Oh, follow.
And we always lived in the same house. So he
Okay,
knew
right,
where
right,
we
so
lived.
right.
So he knew where we lived.
Right.
And so my dad called me, and I went to my training officer at the time, who had just been transferred to the bureau, Chuck Mansell. I said, Chuck, said, I might not be on a police department. You know, I just went to him and said, this is what I'm going to do. And he said, no, don't do that. He says, I'll take care of it. And he went about it the professional police way. And they got him locking him up and putting a warrant out for him and all that stuff, and then lock him up. And I happened to be in the station when they brought him in, and and nothing happened.
Right.
But yeah,
Right.
so that was
Statute of limitations is up. What'd you do, really?
nothing.
Okay, whatever.
So that was my stalking story.
But there's
But
stalkers.
it's creepy.
It is. Stalkers are everywhere, man.
No.
I don't get it.
I was stalked by the IRS.
There you're good. They're laying them off now, so you're good.
I was kind of sitting back there and mystified by the fact that neither of you guys know anything about the Chinese aphrodisiac market and
Oh, he's gonna.
what they grind up those penises and sell them, and that's what that market's all about.
Oh,
And the
wow.
one thing that occurred
Ladies
to
and
me-
gentlemen, Colonel Mike Quinn.
What our timing is unreal.
Wow.
You're
Not
probably,
only, not only was he beneficial to the police department, but he knows about
there's no way anybody else would know that
Chinese
story.
aphrodisiac market.
How is that even possible?
Well, and the thing that mystified me was, how do you find a pink flamingo's penis? It just seemed like a mystery beyond. So, but anyway,
Wow.
But you're not very knowledgeable about the aphrodisiac Chinese market.
Anyway,
First of all, I want to know how you know that.
reading.
Okay. Okay.
All right, talk. You want to get right into that mic, Colonel.
Closer.
But let's
You're great.
introduce.
You're great.
This is Colonel Quinn, Colonel Mike Quinn, and Mike was a very successful businessman, and then decided that he wanted to get involved, and he was always a police lover. When you talk to the colonel, I mean, over beers and whatnot, you just get his passion for law enforcement. He's a Vietnam veteran, and you just get that passion, and he really wanted to get involved after being a very successful businessman. And what was your reasoning on getting involved with the police department, Mike?
We moved a conventional family from Webster Groves to the city of St. Louis at the corner of West Pine and Sarah in 1986. And the very first police officer that I met was Charlie Abernathy.
Charlie?
I work with Charlie.
And any of you who knew Charlie, he was a very unique police officer, but he took an interest in my moving into the city and kind of gave me some do's and don'ts. And I lived in a neighborhood that was transitional at best. And I was washing my car in the alley one day, and the guy from probation and parole got shot about 150 feet from where I was standing. So I got an indoctrination early. But but I had the opportunity when I moved in. Jack Titone, who I'd gone to high school with, was the captain of the 9th District. And I was very impressed with the fact that when I went down into the West End to have dinner on Saturday nights, Jack Titone in his white shirt was walking the streets. So
What year was this, Colonel?
1986, 87. I got the opportunity to meet Gary Perkins, who was then the captain of the 9th District, who followed Jack. He got me involved in the Citizens Academy. And one thing just led to another. I got involved with the 9th District Police Association.
Were you like Tackleberry in the Citizens Academy?
It was just the whole exposure was just wonderful. And one thing led to another. And I was, as I was inquiring about what was going on in the department, there was a lot of, we were losing people were being proselytized to Webster Groves, to Kirkwood, to the FBI.
Kind of like now.
Because the residency rule was an impediment. And that became my passion, was to get involved, and to the point that I wanted to change the residency rules to remove that impediment.
And that, sir, I thank you.
Yeah, me too.
And I think, John, you got something with, I believe Chief Mokwa called you and at the time and said, yeah, you got, because myself and you and numerous other people had already flown the coop.
Yeah, we were already gone. So
Well,
they made it an hour from St. Louis.
Right.
And I was.
but I'll say this:
An hour
it
from
needed to
St.
be done, and there's no doubt. And I took advantage of it. But the most fun I probably had in the police department when we all lived together in St. Louis Hills,
But
and that was cool. But
Colonel talked about it when we were talking earlier, is that you can do that until you send kids to school.
Well, that was the thing, that the young police officer joined the department with all the enthusiasm, and they get married, and 7 or 8 years later, they're faced with a dilemma. Either you send your kids to a parochial Catholic school. You're probably not interested in putting your kids in the environment of the public schools. And, there were a couple of times that I'd be talking to police officers, and they'd talk to me about being at Walgreens and having a guy walk up to them and say, I know where you live. I know who you are. I know who your family is. And it was, there's a intimidation factor when you're trying to protect your family and raise them in a healthy environment, and you're being accosted at a Walgreens and being told that you're in danger because some shithead knows who you are and where you live.
Right.
Yeah, that was a motivation for all of us who left early.
Right.
Was, hey, they're not going to do anything while you're there. They're gonna do it while you're at work and your family is home, defenseless, and so a lot of us took the chance. And by the way, Laurie Urson and Kim Allen and Maureen Ramsey say hello,
Colonel,
Colonel.
Colonel, who was your who was
We've
the
been
chief?
on for a half hour and
You
ain't
probably
said
know
shit. Colonel comes on, all of a sudden they want to say hi.
They've been on.
Those
before.
are great friends.
kidding.
I'm glad to say hi back to them and know that they're listening.
when were you finally approached to become a board member, though?
That was an interesting process. There was a particular alderman who became the president of the board of aldermen, who discovered what my passion was. And you have to know that city politics are very unique, and the protection of people living in the city was a greater passion for the aldermen than it was to protect the police officers and what their passions were. So this particular gentleman interceded against me. And this was when Mel Carnahan was the governor, and I had worked to get myself in position to get nominated. And this particular individual made sure that nomination fell on deaf ears. So I had to start all over again. And we just lost Jimmy Holleran, who was my political sponsor. Pat Doherty, who was a state senator at the time, was my political sponsor, and had the opportunity to get the invitation. And I was thrilled when I got sworn in.
Because they knew your passion was that residency rule, and that's the main
mouth
reason.
shut. I think I kept my mouth shut.
Who was the alderman?
He's deceased. He's deceased.
Can we raise a toast to Jim Halloran while we're talking about it?
Absolutely.
What a great guy on the Gurks, great lawyer, great man.
That's a good
So
one.
that's who got you. That's awesome.
So one of the things I know that over your time, how long were you with the police department? From what years?
2003 to 2007 was my term.
So that was only 4 years, but you created and your passion for policemen, and you would always spot those ones that you wanted to become friends with, and you did become friends with. And I know you're going to leave some out. So anybody out there that Colonel Quinn is friends with and he leaves you out, it's not because I mean, there's just so many.
There really are. And, you know, the guys that worked in the 9th District Bureau were the first guys that I had admiration for. I won't try to, and that's so far back in my history, it'd be impossible. But,
Right.
You know, I'm trying right now desperately to think of
Don't
guys.
worry. That's all right.
You know, when you think about the emotional things that happened to me during my career and the times that I was called to a shooting scene, or, you know, I had to go to the hospital because someone had been injured in the line of duty. You think about Joe Speech, you think about Jimmy Moran, you think about the guys that came and grabbed you and said, hey, we'd like you to talk to the families. And it's probably one of the things that you're never really prepared to do. You really didn't think about when you enthusiastically volunteered for the job, but when you have to face a mother and father who've lost a son in the line of duty, it puts a whole different spin on the opportunity, and it builds a whole new level of respect for the guys that are out on the street. And a lot of the guys that I had a great deal of respect for were the street cops, the guys that worked in mobile, the guys that worked in SWAT, the
He said
guys.
mobile.
Yeah.
All right.
No,
Yeah,
geez.
I'm not trying to blow a skirt up
Keep going.
Right.
anybody's.
We get it.
What's up, Jeff? You get it, don't you, Jeff?
But I do have a great deal of it. These are what we affectionately refer to as the real police. And these are the guys that are out there that, you know, I brought a conventional family into the city of St. Louis. And every time somebody retires, if I get an invitation, I show up. I still have an admiration for everybody that has taken on the opportunity to put on that shirt and wear that badge and put the gun on their hip. It's a tremendous amount of responsibility. Yeah, I'm a combat infantryman. I did my time walking the jungles of Vietnam. I've been shot at. I know how terrorizing it is. And the guys that are out on the street are taking care of my family. The guys and gals that are out on the street are taking care of my family. And those are the people that I truly care about. And I wanted to do whatever I could to try to pay back.
That's why
That's a
you're.
great
That's why
answer.
you're
I
a
mean,
great
you really
board
didn't
member.
name too many people, but it's just about.
That's awesome. No.
It was just about everybody. That was awesome.
He summed it up great, and that's
Exactly.
why his passion is for police, because he was there. He was the real deal. So you're still proud to say you. I'm not going to say where you live, but you're proud that you still live in the city.
Absolutely. And my
City's great.
children, you know, three of my children all lived in the city at different points in time. Now, the oldest one has just moved away and gone to Utah. My daughter was in the city for a number of years, and she now is in University City. And my son is still living in the city, my middle child, and he's still in the city. And, you know, we're a family that's dedicated to the city of St.
I
Louis.
love it.
And one of the things, Mike, that's hot topic now is state control versus city control. And obviously you were under state control, for those that don't know, the police department would appoint a board, and the board would consist of the mayor and 4 appointees from the governor. And Mike, you know, was what our Colonel Quinn was appointed under Governor Holden. And just explain in your view of why that is a better process than what they have now.
Let's stay out of this conversation.
Yeah, I don't want to I don't want to ask JJ to step in here. This is, I mean, it is really it's a delicate situation. When city control came in, I was apprehensive. I worried about the politics. The kinds of things that I worried about have come to pass. I mean, when you have the personnel director of the city of St. Louis trying to depart discipline and determine who gets hired and who gets fired, I think it's a misnomer. That it should be the purview of people who are involved in policing, who understand what the job really is. And I think that that's the thing that the governor works very hard at, is selecting people who want to serve, who have an introspection to what policing is all about. Hey, the first year that I was a young police colonel, there was a particular officer who misbehaved and came before us as our board trial. And all of my young friends were lined up across the back of the courtroom, and they were shooting daggers at me.
I remember.
And I fired this young man for cause, because he was a two-time loser, and I wasn't going to put him on the street to make a third mistake. So I think if the governor's careful and he selects the people, you need people with business experience, you need people with personnel experience, you need people who've been at the firing line, who understand what the job is about, and who have some compassion and sensitivity to the job.
But you also, and without mentioning names, went to bat for somebody that was so you just talked about letting somebody go, but you also, everybody else wanted to let somebody go, and you said no.
I strongly disagreed. I think that when there's a chance for rehabilitation, when somebody makes a mistake in terms of an interrogative process, if somebody crosses the line in an interrogative process, it's very different than being out on the street and drawing your weapon and shoving it in somebody's mouth. They're two very different situations, and I think
that's no good.
They needed to be treated. They need to be treated differently.
Kind of.
That's a little frowned upon.
But no, and then we'll be remiss to say that the guy that you fired went on to find another job.
And he has reprimanded me several times that I could stop sticking up for him, because he's very happy in the job that he's gotten. And the guy that I fired has been very successful.
Absolutely.
So
there's not
outcomes,
everybody's built for this job.
exactly.
Right.
And the board doesn't make everyday decisions.
No,
I mean,
right.
you still defer, especially like on my dad's board got to pick a chief pretty early on, and they deferred to, they chose Bob Sheets, and they deferred to him with his 40 years police knowledge. But the bigger decisions, you can cut out a lot of just all the nonsense and look at it more from the 20,000-foot view, as like you said, Colonel, as is this smart for business? Is this smart for our image? Where if you've been in the mix for all those years, you maybe don't have the same perspective. But you all, every person I know that's ever taken that job, including my father and Nesby Moore and yourself, and everybody does it for truly altruistic reasons, because they want to see
Noble reasons.
Yeah, they want to see the department do well and the city do well, and they care about the people who wear the badge.
I can't tell you how upset I was. Firing range is near and dear to my heart as a former infantryman. I recognize that that's where you go to learn. That's where, and when I was on, there were two brothers who ran the range at that point in time.
The Burnett's.
The Burnett's. And
Very passionate about that range.
they were
the best.
they were incredible teachers.
Yes, they
And
were.
to know that has fallen into disrepair, to me, that's the brightest, whitest light that you can shine on what the problem is, when the tactical program that you have that teaches exactly what you have to do every day out on the street is allowed to fall into disrepair. How does that reflect in terms of what's the mission fallen off to? What's going on here? Now, today, there's, pieces of the building are falling on the ground. We've already heard that the roof's leaking, that the air conditioning doesn't work. And the city's sitting on $280 million and they don't know what to do with it. I mean, come on. There's a leadership problem that really needs to be rectified. So I'm applauding Governor Kehoe. I think at this point in time, I've seen enough. I think that the police board would be a lot more responsive to what the needs of the police department are.
Absolutely. And I think, I think everybody,
I'm saying mom,
saying
but
neutral?
Yeah,
I'm just gonna
think
go.
it's
I'm just gonna
unfair to
go
have
and
Jim
say
in
that
there.
that 99.9% of policemen agree with you. And one of the things that the police department needs is that business sense. I mean, we are a paramilitary organization,
Yes.
but you have to have successful people that know how to run stuff and have budgets and know how to do all that stuff running this place.
Yeah, there's a funding necessity, from the vehicles that you go out in every day, to the weapons that you shoulder, to the tactical units that you put out on the street to deal with specific issues on the city. All of these things are necessary to successful policing and reduction of crime. And it isn't just counting numbers or policing up grass. I think there's a lot more to it than what I'm seeing from the leadership in terms of what's coming from the administrative portion of the city that's funneling down to the needs of the police department.
Let me ask you this, Mike. Does I keep saying Colonel?
It's okay.
I know.
And I think that speaks volumes too of my relationship with the people that I met and the friendships that I made. I never wanted to be Colonel. I really did want to be Mike.
But you are Colonel.
I appreciate the respect that I get, but at the same point in time, I appreciate the friendships that I've created.
I think you earned it.
Absolutely. That's one of the best. I mean, I've been wanting to get him on the show forever.
No
He
doubt.
showed up tonight and I said, guess what? You're coming on the show.
I love it.
So this is great. And then, but as far as budget, can the state help them out in different ways? If they have control, will they feel, is it easier to get some funding from the state if the state has control?
The only thing that I witnessed during state control in terms of funding were losses from liability losses, where their lawsuits were filed and there was a court decision that came down that made the city liable for police officers' actions. In terms of the operating budget, the funds come from the city of St. Louis. The payroll is determined by the city of St. Louis. The funds that buy the police cars it comes from the operating budget of the city of St. Louis. That was one thing that Francis Slay made very clear to me. Never forget, Mike. Ultimately, this comes out of the city budget. So that's a critical part of looking forward. Oh, yes, that's true. But you have to carve out that portion of it to make sure that the organization is functioning at a high level, because that's what's making your city safe.
Do you know what is the percentage of the budget that goes to the police department? Do you know?
I don't. Because I haven't been involved.
Somebody
in so
quoted today, I think 25%.
Yeah.
Is that what you said, Greg? 25% of the budget?
Yes, he's correct. I knew the answer I was asking. It's 25%.
Let me give you the most shocking statistic of all. In 1986, I brought a conventional family from the city of Webster Groves to the city of St. Louis. Jack Titoni was the captain of the 9th District. There were 2,200 police officers who were on duty working in the city of St. Louis in 1986. By the time I left the board, I think the authorized strength had shrunk to something like 1,400.
1,400.
As I understand it today, you'd be lucky to find 980 guys that are actually drawing a paycheck from the St. Louis Police Department.
Yes.
Now, and think about at least a third of those are administrative, because you have to have an administrative cadre to run the team that's out there on the streets.
But the workload hasn't lessened.
No. Well, and the one thing I mean, at that point in time, the 9th District did not include it's not Laclede Town, but what is the name of the annexed area?
Up there, like the old 5th District?
Yeah.
Like College Hill and all that?
Yeah. There was an annexation that took place that the 9th District
JVL
gained some additional territory without any real addition in manpower.
And the 9th District's gone now, and
yeah.
we're down to 6, but the districts are so much bigger.
One of the things that I used to be very proud of, I could name every captain that worked in the 9th District, from Jack Titoni to Mike Caruso, in order. And I used to kid Lyda Cruson about that all the time. But I was very proud of the fact I knew every one of those guys on a first name basis. And nobody was more hurt than I was when the 9th District disappeared.
No, and you were very close, like you said, with the captains, and not only captains, but neighborhood officers.
Yes.
You're very tight with the neighborhood
Yep.
officers, and you've seen what they did on a daily basis, and they really helped out the community. And I think you have, I believe Ron Hasty was one of the guys that you always talked to me about, that he would really, really be responsive to the whole neighborhood's concerns.
Ronnie Hasty would lay in the bushes at 2:00 in the morning to catch a bad actor. So, and you know, there are various people that I met. You know, George Venegoni. I mean, there's some great people and friendships that I made over a period of time. And I'm embarrassed that, you know, at the tender age of 79, I can't sit here and give you a roll call of all the people but the people that were most impactful. I can see their faces.
And we visited the night of the boxing matches. We visit your table. You've had a table there for how many years?
We're over 25 years.
25 years.
And I'm very proud of that table. I like to think that I've got one of the best tables at the Guns and Hoses match in terms of.
Wait, Dodge is it Dodge at your
Yeah,
table?
yeah.
Well, that's
Dodge and Spies,
well, there you go.
but Harry Hager,
He makes up for those two.
Roy Joachimsthaler,
Another one helps make up for the
That-
other two.
He's getting better.
JJ Chichaki.
There
Yep.
you go.
All right.
All right,
He's
so
going
Doc-
back down.
Okay. You're back.
So,
You're back up.
And of course, the funniest funny man who we've all know is Danny Schulte,
Oh, Schulte.
Oh man.
who's always a riot. And
Randy
Schulte, who gets mixed up with Sweeney all the time.
All the
Between
time.
the two of them, they get mixed up all
yeah,
the time.
unfortunately,
Same personality.
that's Schulte's fault for putting all that weight on.
Ooh.
Oh, Chuck and Barb's from at the end here.
Hey, we're friends.
But Mike, first of all, we appreciate you. And Mike I'm sorry, Colonel has been a supporter of this show from day one.
Seriously?
He sent in.
This ain't your first time? You didn't hear about us today?
I just am curious, how many people have we lost since I came on?
You jumped up.
We popped up. We tripled our audience, Colonel.
Jake
I
just
like
said. Jake just said just jumped up.
But
You know what? Actually, you were a great interview. You were.
Thank you.
I always knew you're going to be very good at what you did on this. So you were awesome.
he's
Thank
been
you.
with us for day one. He's been very supportive when I run into him, and I've run into him numerous times throughout the
From the earliest days in the basement of Colombo's when it was all on the radio voices and even last week when for the first 20 minutes of the live show there was no sound.
That's how we roll, baby.
I've witnessed a lot of growth over the years.
I just have one more question for you,
Yes, sir.
Colonel. Were you ever down in this basement before?
Never.
Okay. All right. That's good.
I've got a comment from Judge Milliken said, great show, fellas. Thanks for your service to our country and to our city, Colonel.
Thank you very much, Judge.
That is-
I appreciate it.
And the judge is ready,
That's
clocked out.
Pelican, yep.
I'm sure he signed off already.
Yep. He's watching to make sure his son don't screw up.
The sun's
Well,
gone, I think.
Yeah, he
Cheers.
left.
Cheers.
He left
and
out.
Congratulations, guys.
Thanks,
on the
Colonel.
Thank you
show.
so
Appreciate
much.
Thank you so
coming
much,
on,
Colonel.
Man, you were awesome. You were great.
Cut it. End it. Cut something.
Wait a minute. We didn't do any of our advertisements or nothing.
Oh, we didn't do any advertisers.
Put it back
We're
on.
still live.
Too late.
Schicker,
Put it back on. I got it. And hey, we
Try and
didn't do any of our
perform.
advertising, but watch. Hold on a second.
Man.
John, what did Schicker ask us to do?
Olivia from Schicker said that they're working on the jingle and thought maybe we could help them out with some ideas.
I love Tom's jingle. He's got.
So we came up with a jingle.
You
Ready?
came up-
You ready, Colonel?
I am.
Watch this. When you don't want to bicker about the price on the sticker, head to Schicker where you get the best deal quicker. Schicker Automotive is a proud sponsor member of Backstoppers. Support those that support us. So when you're thinking of buying a new or used vehicle, head to any of the Schicker locations located in South St. Louis, Pacific, or is it Union and Washington, Missouri.
I'm
Or-
a very proud former Schicker customer. So
Yes, there we go.
I've bought a Schicker Ford.
Or you can go to
Me too.
Schicker,
I drive one.
shopschicker.com.
There you go. I like it.
Shop local, shop Schicker.
Yep.
If you want to get a cigar, would you smoke cigars,
No, I
Colonel?
don't. I'm a reformed cigarette smoker who doesn't. I don't touch tobacco. Every
But you
time
know
I
where you wanna
started
go
again,
if you
a
do
cigar
that.
was involved.
For all your cigar needs, head to Riverman Cigar Company,
Yes, sir.
located at 8984 Watson Road.
The best.
See Dan Ponder. Dan is the man with the cigar plan, with all kinds of brands that will please any cigar fan. Go see Dan and tell him the Brighter Side of Blue sent you, and you'll get a special discount. 8984 Watson Road.
And the most
Did-
important
did-
thing,
hey,
communities that support.
Wait, we're not done with the
Oh.
advertisement.
So
Do you have one? You got a little jingle for Prime Performer?
I don't have a jingle for them, but you know where you want to go if you want to rediscover your prime.
Yes,
Where do you go?
Prime Performance. It's one. I don't. Fuck.
You don't even know where it's at. do
Yeah,
you?
it's one's in.
You know where it's at?
Yeah, one's in Fenton and one at
44 Fenton Plaza.
Plaza.
You
Another
know where
one's
the other
one
one's at?
at 122 Central Plaza.
That's
and-
because you stole it off my notes.
I can't read
Yeah,
that.
you can't.
I got my cheaters. 122 O'Fallon Plaza or Central. Fuck, just
Is this
say
the
it.
best close
Right.
ever?
Hey,
This is the best
here,
close.
and then
We
you
just
know what
lost
you
all
did?
our sponsors.
we
Shit,
ain't done.
we got one more. We got to go talk about some pizzas at Colombo's too.
We already got that. We already got that.
No, we didn't
We
do
did-
that one.
we're at Prime Performance. You know what you do? Rediscover your prime.
Right.
You know how they do that? They got all kinds of stuff they offer.
Keep
You
going.
can do testosterone therapy, hormone
I
therapy,
need all that
vitamin
shit.
injection,
I think I need all that shit.
medical weight loss, IV therapy, peptides. If you did all that, you know how good of a pickleball player you might be.
I'd be
there with
professional.
Danny.
I'd be
As a
better than
pickleball
Danny.
player.
I'd be way better. I'm a better athlete.
Absolutely.
Way better athlete than Danny.
So and I'm telling you, if you went with Prime Performance over there with the worms,
I think I might
not
do
Bubba, but the rest of the worms,
Right.
They'll hook you up.
it. Minus Bubba.
They'll hook you up. You'll be the best damn pickleball player ever.
Where do you get a Seabo's pizza at?
But here at Colombo's, but
Okay.
you know where you go for all your printing needs,
Yes,
and they don't print money. That's the only thing they don't print.
I should.
For all your other printing needs, you go to Marvell Printing, Mark Colombini,
Calabini.
1928 South Broadway, 341-231-1477.
You know, he's got
Union
a
Shop.
Mark Calabini. I should probably know this, but they may have a nephew or somebody that's a county police officer. Calabini.
Could be Colombini.
Yeah, he's actually
Is-
going to
Is
work
it a
at
common name?
He's going to work at the soccer stadium.
All right,
He hasn't
good.
put in yet, but
All right. That
All right.
makes it even go get more
yeah,
printing. Get some
Right.
shit printed.
I'm going to go by there one of these days.
We need some cards.
I know.
Go by
I
and
know.
get some cards.
We need some
Like-
cards.
I'm
I'm going
going
by.
by. I'm going to take
and
care of
then,
it.
you know, you got to, for security needs, where you got to go.
Oh, Corby Campbell.
You get any jobs from him lately?
I haven't. No, he
You're
hasn't-
like one of his ace men, aren't you?
I am, but he only hires me for the real
Did
important.
he call
job.
you for the Super Bowl?
He did
You know, he
not.
got the Super Bowl.
I did. I'm pissed off, Bob. So I'll probably never work for
He
him
was
again.
telling me he was up there and says,
No
I
shit.
can't believe I'm at the Super Bowl.
That's.
But he
badass.
did the security for some security for AB
Well, he's tied with
that
AB.
landed him in the Super
Jeff,
Bowl.
how come you didn't? You're friends with Corby. How come you didn't go?
No,
Why
we're
did you
gonna
go
have
to
to,
Super Bowl?
Corby's going to have to start hiring some
You
people.
know, where's he? He forgot about us. He forgot
Right.
about us.
He's talking about all these.
The hell
these-
with Corby Campbell
yeah,
and
he's talking
security.
about all these green berets he had and everything.
You
You guys say SLFPD SWAT
we're SWAT, man.
Ain't
You're
shit.
SWAT or you're not.
ain't shit. Corby Campbell didn't hire none of you.
No, that's bullshit.
That's how good he is.
Because he knows I'm
'Cause
not.
you guys
I'm so
suck.
important. that I
He
don't have
hires
time.
such good people that his security's that high that you guys suck.
Do your final.
That's how good of a
do your
security
final
is.
closing.
I got a random. Shoot First has been chiming in.
Who's shoot first?
I don't
What's
know,
he got?
but he's got some suggestions. But he did say Scooter Snacks on Natural Bridge is one of TT's buddies that went legit. So if you're
Scooter snacks.
so
yes.
if you go down, if you take the long way back from Colombo's tonight, stop at like
Scooter snacks.
Yeah.
Where's
Hey.
it at, Johnny?
5100 block in Natural Bridge.
I will
Scooter
be.
Sna-
I'm going. I'm
Dude,
I'm
I'll
working.
roll with you.
Well, when I go
Scooter
to work,
Snacks.
I got to work next week. I'm going up to Scooter Snacks.
I'm in.
You want?
I mean, what do we got? We got anything else, John? You want to chime in?
Brian McKenna chimed in and said that
Oh shit!
Oh no.
Corby Campbell is the bomb when it comes to security. Keeps him safe.
See,
Go.
there it is.
Brian
McKenna.
don't need to be safe. He's tough enough.
We need to get him on the show.
Yep.
He's a crazy. You used to go. You used to
Yeah.
run with him in college, didn't you?
I known him since grade school. I used to play him in every sport there was. He went to
Was he a
Providence.
good
I went to
athlete? He
everything.
was a good athlete, wasn't
I hate to say that live, but yeah, he's a pretty good athlete.
He's a great
Good
dude.
dude.
He gave us a lot of advice when we started the show.
Can I tell a story about Brian McKenna?
Yeah, shit, he's listening. You might as well.
We played junior college soccer together. We went to South Rolla to play against Rolla. We were a junior college team. So we decided it was a good idea to spend the night down there or stay down there. So it was me and Kevin, Brian, and Brian's girlfriend.
So Kevin is Brian's twin,
he was a
and he was a policeman.
he was a policeman.
We went to
He
academy together.
just worked, retired out of the brewery. So Brian he was a tough kid. And he was so we go
You told this story before, but tell it again.
on here.
I believe so.
No way I did.
I don't think so.
I don't think so either.
All right,
So-
I'll
so-
defer to the colonel.
So I'm gonna hear it again. So we decide to stick around in Raleigh. We're gonna go to a party. So we go to a house party on campus. We go in there. We know no one. I mean, absolutely no one. And Brian's with his gal. I don't know her name, but I ain't gonna lie, she was pretty. She was hot.
She was smoking.
She was a smoke show.
All right.
So we're in the kitchen for some reason. I'm with and Kevin's in a knee brace on crutches, full knee brace.
You're about to get in a fight, ain't you?
Well, Brian comes up to me and says, "Hey, man, it's
There's
going.
no other reason.
We don't know one.
Mention
We
it.
don't know one." He says, "It's going down." I go, "What the hell are you talking about?" He goes, "Some guy just grabbed my gal's butt,"
But yeah, here we go.
and I'm like, and Kevin goes, "I don't know how good I can do, but I'm just gonna grab the first two guys. I'm just gonna grab them and get them to the ground." And I'm like, "What?" And Kevin and Brian's like, "I got that feeling, it's a go." I'm like, "Are you lost your fucking mind?" I said, "We know no one here.
We're outnumbered.
We're outnumbered by 20-1." I go, "Well, how about we just get the hell out of here?" And they both looked, those two idiots. Sorry, Kevin and Brian. They looked at each other and they're kind of like, "Yeah, he's probably right." So we decided to leave and we left.
And that's why you're a tactical genius, because
yeah,
you can count.
you're right.
Right.
Right. I mean, it would have probably been fun and we have a better story than we do now, but
Yeah, but
holy
you
shit,
gotta get your
dude.
butts
I
kicked.
think you should have went.
We should.
You should. I
But-
just think it would have been a better
The fight-
story.
but Brian comes to me, goes, "I got that shaky feeling. I knew I'm going to get in a fight. And we're going." I'm like, "What? You lost your mind?" Sorry. Is he still listening?
Yeah, he just gave us some smiley face.
Sorry, Brian. But hey, I talked you out of it. Thank you.
All right,
You're
this is
welcome.
getting to be fun. I think we will get better at this live stuff. I know we had some. Do we have any glitches tonight?
No, we won't. We're never getting
Not too
better at
bad.
This is the best.
We didn't have any
everything.
glitches. You guys were working feverishly. They're taking away because when we're talking, they're working feverishly over here on the computer, and it's tough to, isn't it? It's tough to keep focused.
They've
Well,
been
they
busy.
throw in-
They're
They've
trying-
been busy.
Throw in 4 1-hits, 2 shots, and about
well,
4
they're-
beers.
They're bringing up pictures or we're talking about and shit. So anyway, we probably need to end this. And how do we usually end it, Tom?
Communities that support law enforcement are safer places to live.
Amen.
Thank you all.
Good night.
Peace.
Hey, did Mary Michelle ever check in?